this thing on?
We talking about practice, man.
I guess I work with my hands.
It's a misdemeanor in 27 states.
You gotta be comfortable with your co-host in this amount of space.
Yeah, I can see me and you.
This guy runs a state.
You get that through your head?
You just got hashtag content.
You know, technology and stuff.
Up in your grill. It's stuck in your teeth.
Now I have to mark them so I don't get the lick mic.
You're not really that stupid, are you?
Quavos.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
We're gonna have a lot of editing this time.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
Extra, extra, hear all about it. Pretty boy Floyd Mayweather shines in a circus fight against the notorious Conor McGregor.
Week 1 of the college football season is at our door. Patrick Wu of the Reese Senior Bowl has the keys.
Plus, the Bills are down to uno quarterbacks. Who's likely to get the call?
And female correspondent Ashleigh Carter is back to wrap up our 3-week Where Are They Now Partay.
TBD. To be determined, episode 26, previously recorded from the studio in Mom's basement.
All hail.
At Sports by Bond, Stephen Bond. With at Trabs Matt, at Scooty Minx, Matt Traybold.
Yeah. Baby.
Recording on a Sunday in upstate New York, late on a Sunday after GOT's season finale.
Thronz.
Hashtag Thronz.
Thronz.
I didn't watch the Game of Thrones episode, I'll be honest with you, Trabs Matt.
You were coaxed.
You were able to watch it with executive producer at Sports by Mom because she's a GOT fanatic.
You walked by many times. I kept saying, join us. Join
very,
us.
Very, very creepy voice, if I'm honest.
And you didn't join us.
I didn't. I was down producing the show. I was busy working.
Join us.
We have to isolate that little soundbite. A very busy 26th episode of To Be Determined. We're going to talk about the mega fight, the circus fight, the spectacle, whatever you want to call it.
I like that.
Mayweather-McGregor. Joined once again by FOT's Patrick Wu, the scouting coordinator, jack of all trades. He's the college football expert on this show as far as we're concerned. But really his title is the scouting coordinator for the Reese Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. One at P_Wu. We'll talk some Bills. They had their third preseason game this past weekend, and more news away from the field than on it, but significant news on the field.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, our Where Are They Now series wrapping up. I think we're going to wrap it up with the 2000s.
I'm upset.
So it's been fun.
It's really been fun.
Little, as we get ready to dive into fantasy football drafts, this was kind of our own little fun draft, if you will.
And it was a snake draft because I hate auction drafts. Me and Super Fots, Mega Fots, I forgot what the term we have for him is. Toby Matika, my
OG
coworker,
Fots.
at Channel 13 in Rochester. We had an auction draft yesterday. And
okay.
I still, after 3 or 4 of these things, have no idea how to do an auction draft.
I've never done one. I'd be so clueless.
Well, that would make 2 of us, and I have some reps under me.
Okay, well, that's not good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It doesn't bode well for either of us then.
Nope.
All right, well, we begin the show. We did this a couple weeks ago on a serious note.
Yeah.
And that is with thoughts and prayers to everyone in Houston and the greater Houston area. This tropical storm Harvey has devastated the area, and this is a town that has dealt with flooding numerous times.
Yeah.
I was going to try to put a number on the past few years, but it's been numerous times. I got a buddy down there who has lived through a couple of these now, and this one is by far the worst. By far the worst. I mean, it's not just a couple feet of water in certain places. It's 17, 18 foot of water in certain places. Lives, businesses, homes ruined in a couple of days.
And you put your thoughts out to those people, and you have to expect, and it's unfortunate, there's still plenty of people out there that will be negatively affected by this, but you also have to give props to and commend those that have helped so far in the early stages of this. Because you have to look for some kind of positive out of a tragedy like this, and wherever you can, because there's going to be a lot of negative aspects, and you just hope that the negative aspects get put to a minimum.
Thoughts and prayers with everyone in Houston for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's dive into what we do, and that's some sports talk. Mayweather-McGregor finally happened this weekend on Saturday, the big mega fight. It was delayed. It didn't start until, 12:30, something like that, because of pay-per-view issues. Now, I'm assuming, I don't know, I didn't see any facts on this, but my assumption is that so many people were buying it, they had trouble keeping up. That is my theory. Or it's just the fact that the servers went down in like California and I think Texas.
Oh.
So I don't know which way it is, if it's just that they had a number of people trying to buy this or they just had some sort of technical failure along the way.
Because I was going to ask you, because I know you went the PPV route in terms of the home side of things, as opposed to going to a bar and seeing it PPV there. Were you okay?
We had one little issue, bleeped in and out one time during one of the undercard fights. And other than that, we were good. For the actual fight, we were good. So Floyd knocks out Conor McGregor in the 10th round.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of scorecards had it as an 8-1 victory.
Really?
Leading up to that, which I didn't think that was true at all.
Huh.
I scored it along the way, based on who won the round.
Yeah.
I had it 5-4. I had McGregor the first three. I didn't think Floyd did a thing, especially in the first round. Floyd didn't throw a punch until there was like 40 or 4 seconds left. I can't remember what it was. Something with a 4. Conor looked good the first 3 rounds, and I'm saying good, not great. I thought the entire time he looked uncomfortable, and I thought it started with the pre-fight interview with Jim Gray. I thought he was nervous, didn't look like himself. He didn't have that confidence, that swagger that you expect with Conor McGregor.
Yeah, which is such a difference.
Yeah, where Floyd, who's been there 49 times previous and been in a bunch of these super fights and dealt with this kind of money on the line and all that stuff, was as cool as a cucumber. He was ready to go. He knew what was what. McGregor was stepping completely out of his element, and I know there are a lot of eyeballs on the UFC and mixed martial arts, but there's not this amount of eyeballs. And frankly, there's not this amount of eyeballs on boxing because of the nature of this event, where you're getting both fan bases involved in this.
And you make a good point there when it comes to, hey, he hasn't been there before, and he can talk all he wants, but when the reality sets in, I think that's what you saw. I mean, Mayweather, you saw early on when he's maybe losing in terms of the scorecard, is more of a power move, where he's taking these and he's just kind of like, well, usually when you get popped in the mouth, you're going to be the aggressor right away. But because I'm not, because I don't really care about you too much there, boy.
Yeah, Floyd basically a bit of a rope-a-dope in the early goings, just sort of showing that, listen, I'm not even going to try and I'm going to dodge your punches. Conor had zero defense. I mean, zero defense. That's that karate style, though, that he's got.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the history of his fighting style. He has zero defense in boxing. He just didn't understand it. He had the reach, he had the height, he had the age advantage, he had the strength advantage. But where it counted in experience, that's where Mayweather really got him. Obviously, the defense, obviously, the speed is there for Mayweather. McGregor, I thought, made two crucial mistakes. One, there was zero defense on his part. Two, he didn't jab enough. I really thought if he would have jabbed, it could have set up the hook. He tried this hammer fist a bunch of different times. He could have probably got tossed. It could have been a disqualification.
That's MMA. Leave that in MMA.
Seriously, he could have got disqualified. And I watched with my dad and my brother, and we were all saying, how is he not disqualified for this? In all honesty,
know their stuff.
They do. I'm glad they didn't disqualify him for it. I'm glad they didn't even take a point from it. They just kept trying to separate it. Because I think to a certain extent, Floyd was doing that on purpose, where he'd come in, duck his head, turn his back, because he knew that Conor didn't know, and it would have solved one thing: jab, jab, uppercut. That's all it took. Just keep him out there at bay, and when he ducks underneath, you give him an uppercut. It's very simple boxing stuff that Conor just doesn't have.
Yeah, and that stance, that very open stance defensively that he had, God, if you can even call it a stance, I'm going to have to just call it the Adele. It's just, hello, it's me. Very open. Here I am. And gosh, a lot of people talk about hand speed, even in MMA where that's not as big of a deal. But hand endurance is underrated. And gosh, it really showed. Even before he got tired, he had that stance. It just showing the fact that he hasn't been in this sport very long. But you mentioned the jabs. God, even the ones he hit, because he had his hands down for so long, tired or not, they're just like little baby jabs, little wee jabs, where it's almost just like strafing the head or something like that, or a body shot there. Yeah, it He was getting points maybe, but
Yeah.
it wasn't doing any damage
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it was not going to go to decision.
The big question I think with Conor, outside of how he would handle, what would his style be, how would he work Floyd, was the endurance, and it came to a crashing halt. Now Conor admitted that afterwards, and I'm going to deviate just a little bit from this point. The one thing I love about Conor McGregor, and he earned a fan in me for this, for the lead up, not so much. The fight, yes. Simply because he has been brutally honest this entire time. This is what I love out of athletes, when they're honest, when we get an honest answer out of him. He was brutally honest about himself, about the fight, about the ref. I love that. I love all of that. That is what I want in an athlete, in a boxer, in an MMA guy. That's why I love him. Floyd continues to dance around. I know Floyd has zero respect for Conor. He can say afterwards what he wants to, but you can tell that he really just doesn't mean it, and that's in my gut feeling. Conor, though, is genuine, and I appreciate that about Conor. I appreciate the fact that he's so open about, listen, I got exhausted, and I knew I was going to get exhausted. He goes, in the Diaz second fight with Nate Diaz, he goes, I got exhausted in third and fourth round. He came back in the fifth, or he got exhausted in the second and the third,
won.
and he came back and won. And that's what he pointed to. It was clear in that 10th round he was exhausted. There was over, I think, 2 minutes left when the ref stepped in. I thought it was way too early. And I said it immediately as it happened. That's too early. That's the first words that came out of my mouth when it was over. I wanted a standing 8 count. I forgot in the rules early on if there was even a standing 8 count. But regardless.
Oh, for this hybrid?
For this hybrid thing. Regardless, give him a chance. I know he was all over the place, but this is also a guy that's used to leaning on the cage. You don't see the reason it was so awkward, I think, for the ref is because he's not used to seeing people lay on the ropes unless they're completely out of it, which I understand is like you're leaning way back.
That's the hybrid part of this.
But
it's
that's
wild.
the hybrid part because that he's used to being able to lean on the cage, so I'm sure he's just that's natural instinct taking over, just like the hammer fists were. Let him go. This guy's a two-time, or what is it? What is McGregor's resume there? He holds 2 belts at the same time. He's the only MMA guy to hold 2 belts in 2 different weight classes at the same time. Give him that respect the way you would give Floyd the respect. I think the boxing referee didn't give Conor the respect and therefore called it too early. As Conor said afterwards, let the man take me down. And frankly, that's what everyone wanted to see. Someone go down, whether it be Conor or Floyd.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're a Conor fan, you wanted Mayweather. If you wanted Mayweather, you wanted Floyd to go down. If you were the average boxing fan or MMA fan like I am and didn't really care about either fighter, I wanted to see somebody go down. And the ref robbed us of that moment.
Yes, that line, let him put me on the ground. Whatever the exact words were there. Very, very strong. Mm-hmm. My 2 biggest takeaways from what was a very eventful and a great interview with Jim Gray in the ring with Conor afterwards was, one, it's a little bit funny just the fact that he's talking about the ref in a little bit of a negative connotation, and then he turns and the camera reveals that, oh,
he's right there.
Right behind the entire time. Oh, that's a little bit awkward. And then they had, not like bad words, but they definitely talked about what was just said right afterwards. So that was definitely a big takeaway for me.
Very interesting fight. I mean, this fight, as I put down here, was conceived from a media standpoint, brewed on social media, and wound up being the biggest financial fight in the history of combat sports between the two fighters. I think that's where we're at right now with the numbers. Floyd's going to get north of what he's saying is $300 million. Conor's going to get north of $100 million. We've never seen anything like this before. And was it awkward at times, that fight? Yeah, sure. The lead-up was awkward. Everything about the fight was awkward.
Yeah, just the inclusion of a boxing referee into this. I would have been interested to see if you can't really have two refs out there, especially from different sports.
Interesting concept,
if
though.
they threw a Herb Dean out there, but on the fly, you can't make decisions like that with 2 people.
Because whose call is it? Whose call is it? The question becomes, and what we're trying to determine, was it worth the price of admission? Was it entertaining?
I would say absolutely so. Because, I mean, geez, we even said on this show, and I don't feel bad about, in this sense, being wrong with our predictions, thinking that it was going to be boring and just go right to decision. Because, I mean, when was the last time you saw him be aggressive and go forward and Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
This was his first knockout in 10 years. I'm not counting the Ortiz knockout.
Yeah.
That was an entirely different thing. This was his first knockout in 10 years. Ricky Hatton was the last guy he knocked out. I hesitate to even call this a knockout because, again, I just thought it was called too early. So I was entertained. I stood up for the first, 7 rounds. Nice. I didn't even sit on the couch. I stood up because I was genuinely entertained at what was going on. I felt like I just couldn't sit down. So the last question becomes, where does this leave boxing? Where does it leave MMA? And as I told a couple of people last night, to me, this was almost the metaphorical passing of the torch. Now, some may disagree with it because it was boxing and because of the paycheck that both fighters got, and because there might be the temptation for Conor McGregor to go back to boxing at some point because of the numbers. But to me, the attention, the athletes are all now drawn, for the most part, to mixed martial arts. And this just seems, the inevitable seemed to happen last night. And I get that Floyd won. I understand that Floyd won. But something about this fight, the fact that you're combining boxing, and everyone was saying boxing needs this, Floyd has to win or the sport dies. And all the MMA people were saying, you know what? This is a chance for us to prove that we've got guys that are legit. I thought they did that.
My answer to these questions. So where does it leave boxing? I think it's a win for boxing because even Floyd saying afterwards, I wanted to win for boxing. Yeah. It was the two combat sports.
Floyd wanted to win for Floyd.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, sorry, I just...
Going up against each other there. And regardless of any factors and people saying this, that the winner was a boxer, so that's obviously a win for boxing. I'm not sure if it's very positive or negative. Granted, it does help that Conor McGregor lasted against Floyd Mayweather, this massive figure in sports in general, for 10 rounds.
The self-proclaimed best ever.
It really wasn't more of an MMA fight than it was a boxing fight, and he did pretty well in it. So I don't think it really matters for MMA.
Yeah. I think it just gets more attention to the sport. It does. Like I said, I'm now a fan of Conor McGregor. I will watch his next fight.
Speaking of Conor McGregor, really quick, I realized earlier I said I have 2 things to talk about the post-game interview. Only said one. The other one was I could listen to Conor McGregor say wobbly every second for the rest of my life because he adds 3 syllables to it.
We should have grabbed that little soundbite.
Wobbly.
All right, let's move to the Bills-Ravens third preseason game for the Buffalo Bills. Major news before kickoff. Marcel Darius sent home for violating team rules. The question, Jason Lockenfor tweeting a lot of different things. Last night he was tweeting that I saw Marcel, and last night I mean by Saturday. Saturday night he's tweeting, saw Marcel driving into the stadium by himself. Questions arose Sunday at practice about how did he get home, who paid for the trip home, all this stuff. I mean, just some odd things. This is strange for preseason football.
That there's this kind of, there's not going to be much happening on the field.
Right.
So, hey, just big news in preseason in general that isn't massive injury news is very interesting.
So Marcel, the punishment for Marcel was to not play in a game. He probably wasn't going to play in anyways because he's got a hip or a groin, some type of lower body injury. The punishment doesn't make sense. It's more about the public shaming than it is anything else. And what does it really get you? It's a preseason game. If he's held out of week 1, that's different.
What makes it so big, and we had it in a segment earlier on in the summer, is that you're not going to find too many as strong a stickler head coach in the NFL as a Sean McDermott, someone who likes to adhere to the rules and wants those around him to do that as well. And we're talking about Marcel Darius, had some issues early on in training camp, and now we have this again. This is even worse than one we talked about before. And he wants discipline because he shows discipline. He wants that, and everybody around him, especially someone who's getting paid so much by the team. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing this happen again. It keeps happening with Marcel. And it's really too bad to see.
What do we do with Marcel? That's the question. What do the Bills do with Marcel Darius? What should they do? If it was you, what would you do with him?
I think he's a very good teammate, even though you can look at it from a loftier look and say, yes, him doing this, taking himself out of games, I know it's a preseason game, that hurts his teammates, but in terms of interacting with them, he's great for that. So hopefully you just keep waiting it out. I know the track record's not great, and hope that he turns a new leaf.
How many strikes does he get, though?
Well, he would be out in baseball, so.
I think I think you have to try to trade him, at least put it out there. And if somebody bites, great. If you can get something you like, I mean, listen, this team's all about their draft picks right now. God forbid they should acquire another number 1 and a player for Marcel.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that type of talent. He was the number 3 overall pick in his draft class.
He's a massive talent.
So it's possible they could acquire yet another first-round draft pick. It's also possible they could ship one of their first-round draft picks and acquire someone even better. Now, I don't know what you would do. I don't know how you finagle this. But everything's out there. I think when you open up the possibility of a trade, it opens up a lot of different things. And if this guy isn't buying into the system, and he seemed to be kind of brushing off this latest, and this is just my opinion, just from the press conference we saw, some of the questions. He always seems to be just aggravated by these things and never seems to learn a lesson or want to take any sort of accountability for this. So if he's not going to buy in and your next 5 years are Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, and this guy's not going to buy in, you can't get rid of him until the end of 2019 or until 2019. So you got at least 2 more years with the guy. That's a pretty crucial position.
It's really unfortunate because you look at, I think it was 4 years ago, I remember I was interning at the station I work at now, and there was not a better person, maybe on planet Earth, to talk to than Marcel Darius.
Yeah, good point.
And he was marked by belly laughs, and not like, because he had more of a sarcastic laugh today, and it was awkward because, I mean, he was asked a question that was tough, and he's in a tough situation right now, so I don't really blame either party for what came out of him. But after that first suspension for synthetic marijuana, and we've had a couple suspensions since, something changed in him.
Yeah. He has... From a PR standpoint, he has just brushed off it seems like, it doesn't look good for him.
Yeah.
He can say it, and it just seems like they're empty words.
Exactly. The words come out.
Yeah.
But it's what's behind it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I believe him.
All right, the other major news was Eric Wood, the center, veteran center, signing a 2-year extension. Wood entering the last year of his contract, so this is obviously a priority for Brandon Beane to get this done in the preseason. And Wood's a guy that has bought in, and he buys into everybody. He bought into Doug, he bought into Rex, and he's buying into McDermott now. He's a Bill. He's a Bills guy. He should be a Bill for life. There shouldn't be a question about where Eric Wood should be for the remainder of his career. He's good for the organization. I think he's great in the locker room, and I think he's pretty good in the community as well.
It's that locker room. It's that second one that I think is so important, and that is his best asset, regardless of what he does in the field, and he's still pretty good in the field. I remember, I think it was Thursday I was at practice. So Deion Dawkins, somebody who might be starting here because of injuries, because of suspensions.
It's just a scary proposition.
Yeah, so he might be starting, even at a massive offensive line position like left tackle. He had a very good rep, and the second he was done with it, or during it maybe, Eric Wood goes something like screaming, "Good job, Deion," something along those lines, and Deion Dawkins just beams.
Yeah.
Because he means that much in that locker room, regardless of position.
Great
I know
example.
there was broken off into the offensive line, but shows how much he means to everybody, not just young guys, but especially young guys.
Great example. I was going to just give one more quickly. Whenever there's a huge storyline surrounding the team, there are certain guys that we go to in the media. Certain guys in the media will go to certain guys in the locker room to get their reaction on things. I remember Fred was always the go-to.
Yes.
Kyle Williams always a go-to. Eric Wood is one of those go-to guys.
He is.
And it has been that way since the first day I started covering the Bills. He was just a guy you'd go and say, hey, this is going on with so-and-so, or this happened. What's your reaction? And it's regardless of, offense, defense, coaches, whatever it is, he's a guy you turn to because it's that leadership. That's the invaluable part. That's the intangible part. That's one of the major reasons he should be here, outside of the fact that he's a tremendous center.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if this...
Great player.
Yeah, if this topic has to do with the offensive line, he is willing and able to talk about anything with that team.
The major news during the game is that the Bills got 2 quarterbacks in concussion protocol. The first was very obvious. Tyrod got slammed to the ground, head snapped back. It was ugly. The O-line got beat on that play. Speaking of O-line, it was not good for the O-line. They got beat, and Tyrod gets hurt in the first quarter. Peterman steps in, made some nice throws. Rook looked actually okay, but he inevitably had those rookie moments. Yates threw the pick on his first throw, and as I mentioned, is in now concussion protocol. A little bit more difficult to identify or pinpoint where exactly he was concussed.
Yeah.
But it leaves the Bills in a huge pickle entering the 4th preseason game, which is just 3 or 4 days away now, depending on when you're listening to this. The Bills just down to Peterman. What do you do? Who, where, what do the Bills do? Who do they turn to here?
Jimmy Clausen.
Is that a guy you really want, though?
No, we were looking up options.
Available free agents.
And he hasn't played in like 2 years. I thought he played way more recently than
The
that.
list of available free agents are atrocious. Christian Ponder might be the most attractive to the Bills. Johnny Football's out there. RG3 is out there. And, of course, Colin Kaepernick is out there. But we all know how Colin Kaepernick was treated last year in San Francisco when he came to Buffalo.
Or out of LaShawn's mouth this week.
Or out of LaShawn McCoy's mouth this weekend, too. So, yeah, it's not good if you're the Bills because, frankly, Kaepernick's probably your best free agent option.
I'm calling it right now. So Greg Ward, big-time quarterback, superstar even, for Houston recently, as they try to be the non-Power 6 team in the college football playoff. He is buried on the depth chart at wide receiver for the Eagles right now. He's going to be the quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. But Nathan Peterman.
I was just say you're saying trade then.
But Nathan, because I think he's going to get cut, so I guess scoop him up. Nathan Peterman. Yes, he had some issues, but you really can't fault the guy for having Terrell Suggs, a superstar, bat down one of his balls.
Yeah.
But the fact that it happened a couple times after that, maybe put a little bit more loft on it, but he had another batch of really good moments. I wasn't expecting him to get out of the pocket as well as he has this preseason.
2 questions. One, seriously, what do the Bills do? Where do they go? Is it a trade? Is it a free agent? What do you think is more realistic? And you don't have to give me a name. Do you think it's trade or free agency?
I think it's going to be free agency.
I think it's free agency too. I would agree with that.
They've had some trades already. I think they just have to see if these guys are really concussed. See if it's really bad with the protocol right now. If it's going to take a while for them to come back. But
that may determine whether they trade or they sign a free agent. And 2, and this has been the question since Peterman has started to play better and better. Do the Bills really have a quarterback controversy here? I know they're saying Tyrod's the guy.
They love coach speak.
But Peterman didn't look that bad, did he?
I think they could do much worse than having him as the starting quarterback for most of this season, if not at least for a chunk of the season. Nathan Peterman at the helm, to helm.
Listen, if you're not sold on Tyrod as the future guy, and I get that maybe this new regime needs a year to look at him, and that's fine, then let Tyrod be the guy. But if you're not entirely sold on him and you know that, what's the harm in letting Peterman go out there and sling it for a year when you know you're probably going to draft a quarterback in 2018 to begin with?
And a lot of people, even including me, thought this was a vanilla pick as a rookie in this most recent NFL draft for the Bills to take. A vanilla pick, a safe pick. I know people talk about it all the time with a lot of guys around the league, game manager. But gosh, the way he's been getting out of the pocket a little bit, showing a lot of excitement.
That throw to Zay, though, early on, through 2 defenders, stayed tough in the pocket. That's an NFL throw, man. Any day of the week, it's an NFL throw.
He had one to No Gloves O'Leary.
No Gloves O'Leary.
He had a couple drops that without that, I mean, we're talking.
Oh, man. All right, so that wraps the Bills. That wraps a lengthy A block. Let's put the bump music in. Around the corner, we welcome in, once again, Fots Patrick Wu, the scouting coordinator for the Reese Senior Bowl. College football starts Saturday. We didn't talk a lick of it in the A block. We're going to talk a whole bunch of it in the B block with our buddy Patrick Wu. Stick and stay. TBD rolling on.
What's that you smell? I think it's the most beautifully packed time of the sports year. We got football, we got baseball, so on, so forth. We're back here to talk about it and to be determined.
The only thing we're missing is hockey, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and basketball.
Just in my opinion.
Maybe not our 2 favorite sports, but hey, so much.
Still a great time because college football is on the horizon.
Yes.
Had a couple of games this past weekend. We're really looking forward to this upcoming weekend when the college football season really kicks off. And to do so, to properly kick off the season,
Absolutely.
we have to welcome in Fots of the show, Patrick Wu, the scouting guru coordinator, does a little bit of everything for the Reese Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. You can find him on Twitter at @P_Woo. Mr. Woo, how are you, sir?
Oh, it's great to be back on with you guys. Obviously, you guys know I'm fired up for college football season.
Yes.
Had a great slate of games already in week 0. You got to love week 0 of college football, kind of a new annual tradition. But as you guys said, we're ready to really, really kick things off with the big games coming up in week 1. So really, really excited to be back with you guys.
This is the time of the year when Patrick won't sleep until the new year, basically. So I hope you rested up over the summer. So we'll dive right into this. As we mentioned a few college games last week, it's not really starting until this upcoming week. So this upcoming Saturday, which games deserve the most eyeballs?
Well, I think obviously Florida State, Alabama is going to be the headliner. Surprisingly, guys, though, it was hyped up all offseason as being number 1 versus number 2, but Florida State landed at number 3 in both the coaches poll and the AP poll. So I don't know if that lessens the matchup at all. It's still going to be the marquee matchup. And then, of course, you have some other interesting games like Florida and Michigan taking place in Dallas. You've got another neutral site game with BYU and LSU that was slated to take place in Houston. Of course, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the Houston area. Not sure what's going to happen there. That game may get relocated or postponed. But if that game goes on as scheduled, that is another really good matchup for BYU, who did play in week 0. So they've already had a chance to shake off some of this rust before they take on the SEC opponent in LSU. But BYU is always a tough challenge. So it's another good slate. You look at some of these other non-conference matchups, and under the radar, one would be Texas against Maryland. This is a series that I remember was scheduled back when Matt Traybold and I were in college together, and it was a highly anticipated matchup. Now the time has come for this game to actually happen on the field. But we'll see what Tom Herman rolls out in his first year at Texas. And, of course, DJ Durkin has that Maryland program on the rise. So there's a lot of marquee name-brand non-conference matchups.
Was Maryland in the ACC back then before that? I think that was before they were a Big Ten team too, right?
Yeah,
if I'm
absolutely.
Not
a lot has changed.
Man,
it's the one thing I don't understand, guys. With these games being scheduled for 2030 and beyond already, and we're sitting here in 2017.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is.
All right, so expanding this to the entire season now, what are a couple storylines people should be watching for the most this season?
Well, I'm really interested in what's going to happen in the West Coast. USC and UCLA both kind of had their ups and downs, but USC ends up as one of the hottest teams in the country, gets that Rose Bowl win over Penn State. Sam Darnold is the biggest name at the quarterback position right now, but Josh Rosen at UCLA was he was the savior of that UCLA program. He was the guy. He was supposed to be the next big thing and got hurt last year, had a season-ending shoulder injury, rehabbed all off-season, skipped a lot of things, did not go back to the Manning Passing Academy so that he can continue to get healthy for the season. Can Josh Rosen resurrect that UCLA offense? Because once he went down, the Bruins' chances of competing in the South really, really went down the drain, and that was supposed to be a very competitive division last year. So you have those two quarterbacks returning in L.A. I think you look at what Penn State did in the Rose Bowl, making it to the Rose Bowl, having a play for the playoff. And, guys, I'll be honest, I talked to some guys from that Ohio State football team that have moved on from that unit, and they actually said to me that Penn State should have been in the playoff over them.
Wow.
So obviously James Franklin gets the contract extension, and we'll see what Penn State does this year, because the expectations are going to be through the roof there in the Big Ten, but you still have to get through Ohio State and Michigan. Obviously Alabama is the preseason number 1, despite losing in the national championship game. Clemson has to replace Deshaun Watson. There's all kinds of storylines no matter where you look, guys. Of course, a lot of it hinders around the quarterback position. Obviously, Josh Allen at Wyoming is supposed to become a household name this year, a guy that I spent time with at the Manning Passing Academy. Tanner Lee from Nebraska finally makes his big conference debut after sitting out last year as a transfer from Tulane, and he's got a lot of hype as we head towards the NFL draft. So a lot of great quarterbacks in small schools, big schools, a lot of Heisman contenders, a lot of great teams out there, and we just can't wait to see all these guys play.
Plenty for the Jets and probably the Bills to pick from then, in other words, as we get going. All right, the 4th year of the college football playoff going to be this year. Obviously very early on for predictions, but hey, maybe there's a surprise team that could make it to this college football playoff. Is there a team that you've got your eye on that could possibly sneak their way in, maybe like a Penn State was last year?
Yeah, well, I think you start with the team that's the only team that's been in every single playoff, and that's the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then after that, a lot of people think that this could be a complete rematch. Clemson, Ohio State, Washington, and Alabama. Those look like some of the top four teams in the country. We'll see what Clemson does at the quarterback position. Dabo named the junior Kelly Bryant the starting quarterback, but very reminiscent of when Deshaun Watson took over at Clemson. They had Cole Stout, the upperclassman. Deshaun Watson, as a true freshman, eventually took the job away. This year, I think there's a lot of hype surrounding the true freshman Hunter Johnson at Clemson to potentially take that job. But there's a lot of people still banking on the Clemson Tigers because of that defensive line that's arguably got four guys that will go in the first two rounds of the NFL draft when their time comes to make that decision. So Clemson, I think Florida State is the favorite in the ACC, so I don't know if that makes Clemson a potential surprise team because some people may count them out without Deshaun Watson, but I think Dabo's team is still another one to keep an eye on. In terms of a real surprise, guys, I like the Florida Gators. I know they lost a lot. They had a big injury on defense with Marcel Harris, their leader at safety, going down with a torn ACL. But the Gators are still very, very talented on defense. Obviously, every single year we talk about they need to figure out the quarterback position. They bring in Malik Zaire as a graduate transfer. They redshirted a five-star freshman Felipe Franks last year. I was at their spring game. I was impressed with what I saw from Felipe Franks, but he was going against the second-string defense. But I expect Florida, no matter who they choose, to be better at the quarterback position, better offensively, still going to be strong defensively. Of course, they play in the SEC East, where there's also Georgia, who has the most players on our Reese Senior Bowl watch list with 12 prospects. That is a very senior-laden, extremely talented football team. Can Kirby Smart coach them over the hump in year two? The Bulldogs, I think, are going to be a team to reckon with. And then, guys, I'm going to throw Texas in here. I'm a believer in Tom Herman. I really am. So I'm going to throw the Texas Longhorns in here. I think there's just too much talent across the board on that roster to underperform when you have somebody like Tom Herman leading the ship and getting all of these guys motivated and ready to play. And, of course, Todd Orlando is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. You're going to see Texas be a lot more aggressive on defense and really make some noise in my mind.
I love the Felipe Franks reference because a few years ago, Elite 11, he was such a big name in that. So we record the show in the Syracuse era. We're right there, right now. What kind of season do you think Dino Babers and the Orange will have this season?
I think the natural progression is for them to get better in year two. Obviously, Dino Babers had a lot of success offensively last year with his system. You saw Amba Edetawo, who we had in the Reese Senior Bowl, become the nation's leading receiver as a graduate transfer from Maryland. He's still got some receivers there to work with. I think you can throw in Irvin Phillips, Steve Ishmael as guys that will get some, at least a little bit of NFL attention, should put up big numbers in that offense. I think Eric Dungy will be, if he's healthy, he'll be much better at quarterback. He's the perfect fit to sling that ball around in that offense. So I think there's a lot of optimism offensively for Syracuse. Defensively is where they need to get better, obviously. It's been a while since Dino Babers or any coach that runs that system, quite honestly, that has a strong enough defense. And a lot of the times that a team like that has to continue to outscore every opponent. So can that defense get better? Zaire Franklin is a leader at the inside linebacker position. They've got some players in the secondary as well, but they've got to be better on defense.
Yeah, that defense, that offensive line were just such question marks last year. And then the big thing, obviously, is we talked about quarterbacks early on, is you got to keep Dungy healthy. You got to keep him upright. And that's just one thing that has not happened his first 2 years in Orange, which is it's sad to see. Let's stay with the ACC. Let's stay with Syracuse's conference. This question we posed earlier this summer, and I want to pose it to you as well, Patrick. Is the ACC, given their banner season last year, can they be considered the top conference in college football?
Can they be considered it? Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that they are or that they're not, but I will say that individual talent-wise, I'm still going to lean towards the SEC.
Sure.
But the ACC does have the second best, highest number of prospects on our recent Senior Bowl watch list. The Big Ten is obviously up there as well. I think the Big Ten has a valid argument with Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. I think Nebraska, Wisconsin, Northwestern, Michigan State, I think all of those teams will be better. So I think the Big Ten has a lot of depth. But you look at the ACC and Jimbo Fisher kind of getting on his high horse all offseason, proclaiming that the ACC is the best conference in college football, he really actually has a valid argument when you listen to him just spew out the facts. And that's what I liked about Jimbo's argument, is he was not putting his own biases or his own opinions out there. He was just spewing the facts. They do have some of the highest winning percentages as head coaches in that conference. They have beaten multiple big-time programs in all of these bowl games. They have an outstanding bowl record. They won the national championship. They've had 2 of the last 3 Heisman Trophy winners. So Jimbo Fisher did put up a very legitimate, factual argument, and I don't disagree with anybody that sides with that argument. But I will say that individual talent-wise, it still lies in the SEC as the most talented conference, but the ACC's definitely got a good argument when we look at the whole body of work, body of the conference, and if we're looking at it from a team's standpoint and a what have you done for me lately standpoint.
Yeah, good point.
So again, it's early, but who would be your favorite right now to win the Heisman this year?
Oh man, there's a lot of big names. Obviously Sam Darnold we mentioned. I think Saquon Barkley at Penn State will get a lot of attention. And you know what, guys? Saquon Barkley has gotten so much off-season publicity that I think a lot of people have already forgotten about the guy who was once holding that same type of hype down in Baton Rouge with Leonard Fournette departing. Darius Geist takes over for the LSU Tigers. He's just as talented as Leonard Fournette, could be a first-round pick coming up. He'll obviously be competing year-round with Saquon Barkley to be the country's best running back. But I think lost in some of the Saquon Barkley hype is Darius Geist. I think LSU is going to want to rely on him, run the ball a lot. Obviously, Penn State will be leaning on him as well, but they have a more multiple offense with Trace McSorley and the weapons that they have at receiver. So how big are Saquon Barkley's numbers really going to be? That will be one thing to see. We'll also see if Penn State tries to spread his workload a little bit to make sure that he's healthy if they are in that playoff hunt, because we've seen it, guys, every year. 15 games is a lot for these college student athletes to be able to stand through. You see injuries going into the playoff all the time. So you certainly do not want to put too much tread on Saquon Barkley's tires. And then I think the big name is Baker Mayfield. He was a finalist last year along with his teammate Dede Westbrook. Now, obviously, Dede Westbrook is gone. So all of the attention is on Baker Mayfield. He does not have to share any of the attention on his offense anymore. He's got a lot of unknowns at receivers. I don't think people know about Jeff Badette, the Kentucky graduate transfer, yet. I don't think they know about the 6'5" Jeffrey Mead. I think some people may know about the tight end / big slot receiver Mark Andrews. But I think Baker Mayfield has more to work with there in Oklahoma than people are giving him credit for. So if Oklahoma can win the Big 12 again, Baker Mayfield continues to be the gamer that he is. Not a great guy on the measurables and the tangibles, but he's got all of the intangibles, and he just has a knack for making all of those big plays in big games. We know that. We've seen it. To me, Baker Mayfield would be the guy that I would bet on if I needed to right now.
So just one last one here. So you mentioned the watch list. So the 2017 Senior Bowl watch list came out a couple days ago, and I noticed there was an upstate New York, a Rochester name on there, in a Pitt offensive lineman, Alex Officer. What does he really bring to the table for a team, and what kind of talent on the football field is he?
Well, he brings a very, very unique asset, and that's that he's from the same hometown as Matt Traybold. He's got the grit of a guy who's born and raised in Rochester. I've seen Rochester kids face to face when I stand in front of Matt Traybold, and man, they're just hard to turn down. You really, really got to make sure you pamper their egos, and
spot on.
There's. We would have got a lot of slack if we didn't have a Rochester kid on the watch list. And I really, guys, I can't have Matt Traybold coming after me because he's just way too intimidating. And I can't let the public know how much of a coward I am when he comes around.
Listen, I got to do a show right across from him, Patrick. So believe me.
He knows. He sees these eyes.
I cater to his every need. That's that's the way it goes.
Good answer. I love that.
Very, very good answer. I like
that.
No,
in all seriousness, guys, obviously he plays for the University of Pittsburgh, coached by Pat Narduzzi, hard-nosed football coach, no nonsense. One of my favorite coaches in the country, to be honest with you guys. But just a technician at the offensive line. Mm-hmm. You know that those Pitt players, especially players that are coached by Pat Narduzzi, are going to be tough. They're going to be gritty. He's a big, wide body. And, obviously football is a game of big people beat up little people. And, he's definitely not the most athletic center at 340 pounds, about 6'4", but he's a mauler and run game. He's got some power. He's got good enough technique. He's somebody that, is going to try to compete to be a senior center that gets drafted. He wants to hear his name called. Football is very important to him. And like I said, he plays on a very good offensive line. He's the leader of it. He'll make all the checks and the calls. He's a very intelligent football player. You look at some of these centers around the country, I think it's pretty undisputed that Billy Price at Ohio State, Mason Cole at Michigan, and Frank Ragnow at Arkansas are probably the top 3 senior centers in the country. You put them in whatever order you want. And you look at what we do from a Reese Senior Bowl standpoint, we'll bring 4 centers most years, 2 from the north, 2 from the south. And so, with 3 of the top 4 centers already arguably in place, he's got to put in a lot of work this offseason and this fall to really earn an invitation and catch the attention of these NFL scouts, and I think he's up for it.
Big guys versus little guys was the alternative name to be determined, so we're close.
Yeah, well, guys, that's why I'm so scared of Matt Trayvon. I'm a little guy, and he's a big guy.
I'm in the same boat with you, Patrick. I am in the same boat. Don't worry, my man.
What a line. I love that. Big guys versus little guys.
All right, Patrick Rue, the scouting coordinator, guru, do it all, man, for the Reese Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. You can find him on Twitter at @P_Woo. Patrick, we appreciate the time, my man.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys, I look forward to catching up with you all throughout the season.
All right, bump music in, around the corner. We'll dive into some segments. Got some Sabres news, and it's not good news if you're a Buffalo Sabres fan. Will Butcher has made a decision, and spoiler, it's not going to be in Buffalo. We'll let you know where he landed and more next on To Be Determined.
Let it shower over you, because it's just that sweet. It's To Be Determined, the C Block.
At Sports by Bond with @Travs Matt. You can find the show on the internet, tobedeterminedshow.com. At TBD_show on Twitter, To Be Determined Show on Instagram. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/tobedeterminedpod. You can email the show, tbdmailman@gmail.com. Subscribe, download archived episodes on iTunes and Google Play. Rate and review us if you're an Apple user, or if you're like Matt, you can't do that because you're Team Android.
Yay! Your face!
Not good. All right, C-Block time for some segments. B-side story, Will Butcher signing not with the Buffalo Sabres, but heading to the fine states, the Garden States, New Jersey. The Devils get him. Butcher originally drafted by Matt's Avs in 2013, but he shunned the Avs, and no surprise there. They're in a massive rebuild mode, but frankly, the Devils aren't that far away.
He's hurtful.
The Devils got a couple of pieces, but the Devils are not an attractive sight. One, you got to play in Newark. Yeah, you could live in New York City if you want, but
hey, it's right there.
It's right there. I don't know. This signing to me is maybe about ice time. I think more than anything else, he's going to get an opportunity.
Yeah,
but he would have got an opportunity with the Sabres
and the Avalanche.
Avs, he would have got a lot of playing time. He would have got a lot of playing time.
Much playing time.
Yeah, he may have just played all 60 minutes, which is not what he wants. That's not what any player wants.
You got to tightrope it. You don't want to play too much. You don't want to burn out.
Listen, the Sabres are now 0-4-2 with Hobie Baker winners the past 2 years.
Yeah,
they missed out on VZ. They also missed out on Cal Peterson. Peterson, not the biggest deal because I like them bringing Johnson back. The Butcher deal, I think, this is a little bit bigger for the Sabres. The game all about young defensemen. This is a guy that can move the puck. He can shoot, good defensively. This is a guy you want to build that cornerstone around. I'm not saying he's Rasmus Ristolainen, but he's a nice piece. You need 4 really good defensemen, and if you have injury issues, well, then the Sabres are going to be in trouble.
And I've said it before. You know what? Right now I'm saying it again.
Say it again.
You have talked time and time again about this current roster of the Sabres needs defensive help, and they've helped here and there little by little. But this would have been a big one.
Yeah.
And he's unproven in terms of the professional ranks, in terms of the NHL ranks, but still, obviously, a lot of teams in on him, in on the sweepstakes. Yeah. A lot of teams thought he could be productive at this level.
Yeah.
And you thought with the Housley factor, somebody that you think could really show you the ropes at that position.
Great point.
Unfortunate. It's unfortunate that wasn't enough.
Great point with Housley. I think absolutely. I mean, that's just look at what he did in Nashville, and you think, oh my God, he'll duplicate that here.
But I will say, I'm looking around the set right now. I see a signed picture of Martin Brodeur, Devils, and I see a hockey puck with Martin Brodeur, Devils on it. Little Devils.
Marty
I think
was
you.
my favorite player.
That's your juju. I think that did it. I know.
It's on me then, is what you're saying then. Thanks, guy. So yeah, Will Butcher headed to the New Jersey Devils. The Sabres will be okay. They're doing good things. Bottrell's doing good things with the roster. They're not going to be in trouble unless the injury bug bites. But that's the case with any team in any sport. You know, it's a very cliche saying, but it's very true for the Sabres that they just don't have the depth at defense.
I mean, positive steps have been taken already under Bottrell, and not to say there haven't been any big steps, but this would have been arguably a big step, and it didn't happen. So, what is the next big step, Jason? Let's see what he can do. I think he has it in the bag.
We'll see. All right, let's go to By the Numbers. The number this week is 50, as in the number of home runs Giancarlo Stanton has hit this season. Marlins slugger had 17 in August, which ties him for second all-time in Major League Baseball. First player to 50 home runs in a season in 10 years. The last was Prince Fielder in 2017. So, 2 questions. 1, can Stanton get to 60? And 2, is 60 a big deal?
It's absolutely a big deal. I mean, just beating a record by Prince Fielder, people forget because he fizzled out in his MLB career arguably way too early, that Prince Fielder was a megastar in a mega MLB family.
Yeah.
So that would just be big, beating a record of a guy with such a big name to it. But that first question, absolutely. Look at this pace.
Yeah.
In the second half, bad pace or positive pace when you're looking at an Aaron Judge or now a Giancarlo Stanton. In the second half, you see that kind of happen a lot. You see people get into, whether it's ruts or it's very nice patterns, you see in the second half that those kind of really come into place. You really see people's true colors, whether they're going to fold in the second half or vice versa. So, I mean, Giancarlo Stanton is a guy, I just mentioned Aaron Judge a second ago, that you saw a lot of these big young boppers, Cody Bellinger, him, and an Aaron Judge. You saw these younger guys. I mean, not to say that Giancarlo, former Mike Stanton, isn't young as well, but this slightly younger generation, I think, was getting a lot more headlines going into the All-Star break and going into the second half. And now you're seeing him with the Aaron Judge slump at the very top of power hitters. In the MLB right now, you're seeing him really grass up and say, hey, I'm still here, guys.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he's got the knowledge now at this point. He's become, I hesitate to say veteran, but he's been around the block a little bit, you know? He's got 20-ish something games left, a little over 20 games by the time you're hearing this. It's possible.
Oh, yeah.
It's certainly possible he gets to 60. He's going to have to continue this pace, though.
Pulling the pace.
I kind of hope he does. And I hope further that he's not guilty of, immediately we turn to this, I hope he's not guilty of steroid use. I don't want to tarnish this in any way from him, and I'm not saying that he is, and there's any suspicion around him, but it's the first thing you think of with baseball when a guy starts when those numbers start to jump off the page, it's the first thing you think of. And then the other one is the juiced balls that everyone has been saying this year because there were so many home runs in the first part of the season that the balls are juiced. Well, good. That's fine. Pitchers can throw it faster and more accurately than ever. If you got to juice the balls to get a little more action, who cares? I'd rather see a home run than a strike any day of the week.
You make a good point in terms of people immediately going to the negative of, huge streak, or somebody going from not hitting very well to hitting very well. Oh, it's got to be steroids. That's just the MLB era still. Might be in the tail end of it, but that's still the MLB era we live in.
Yeah.
And remember, we were talking on this show in the first half of the MLB season, Eric Thames. You're like, oh, this guy just came over from Japan. He hasn't even been playing in the MLB for a little bit now, and look what he's doing in the first month and a half of the season. And he's tapered off now, but that was the first thing. Like, it's got to be steroids.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get away from that here soon.
All right, quick segment block in because we went rather lengthy in the A.
It was meaty.
It's fine, though. It's fine. We had a lot of good nuggets. We turn to the D block, where we welcome in our female correspondent to continue the highly anticipated draft. Where are they now? Stars of the 2000s we're set to do. That's next. TBD, one more block.
Ooh, it's a big Sunday. Got VMAs. We got GOT, FAN, ALE. It's a big Sunday. Going into a Monday, we're back here on To Be Determined.
You lost me on the last one there.
Finale. It's a fine finale. Crisp.
Oh, okay. All right.
Earthy.
Oh.
Finale.
D block.
Finale.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I
So
lost
using
track of there.
acronyms?
Okay.
I'm just spelling
He's
everything.
just saying letters.
I'm just
He's
spelling.
saying
I'm just out here spelling.
I was not a spelling bee champion, so therefore you lost me.
Not
You
even
lost me along the way.
regionals. Not even regionals.
No. Oh God, no. I'm an atrocious speller, as we have learned by the post-game
Yes.
press conference. I'm an
Yeah.
atrocious speller. All right.
Bond, I know you're an atrocious speller from working with you.
Thanks, Carter. Appreciate that. Ashleigh Carter, our female correspondent, joins us as we're back to the regularly scheduled programming this week. Last week was a bit of a goof, but a well-deserved break from my man at Trabs. Matt, Ashleigh Carter, the female correspondent of To Be Determined. You can find her on the Twitter at Ashleigh Carter. Of course, we bring her in to talk about all things female, dating, cultural stuff.
Whatever you got.
I mean, really, you're the jack of all trade for To Be Determined.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Or
I have
the-
many interests.
the Jackie.
Many interests.
the Jackie of all trades,
Yeah.
if you will.
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline?
We're going to wrap up, or is this the last one, or are we going to do the 2010s? We really can't, though.
That's cutting it close.
All
you
right.
know?
They're not done.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's fair enough. Fair enough. We've been doing Where
Yeah.
Are They Now? Stars of the 80s, 90s, and we're finally up to the aughts, or 2000s, if you will. We've been doing a bit of a draft. We did 2 weeks ago now, 2 episodes ago. Episode 24 was
90s?
the 90s.
Yeah.
So the highly anticipated 90s. This one, I don't know if it's highly anticipated because it's still so fresh. But there was some interesting. I had a tough time picking the 2000s. I'll be honest with you, because there are so many that are still kind of sticking around and relevant. So we're gonna do the mock draft again. Coin toss was what, me?
I think it's you.
All right. So apologies to Travis Matt. He never got to lead one off, but
There was no coin toss.
I was trying to make it seem like it was a coin toss. All right. Round 1, pick one. Coming out strong.
Do it.
Paris Hilton.
Whew.
Woo.
Reality star, hotel heiress, among other
That's
things.
Wait. What other things would you say?
I'm not going to mention them. I'm not going to mention them. Of course, known for that reality TV show with what's her face there. Now this is bad.
Nicole
producing.
Richie.
Nicole Richie.
She's on great news right now. Very
Really?
critically
Okay.
acclaimed.
Now a DJ. Interestingly enough, model,
Yeah.
business person, and designer. So
Business person is very
in
broad.
quotes, I think. It had entrepreneur down for her, but when you're a soon-to-be billionaire, I don't know how much of an entrepreneur you can actually be. So that's first pick, first round.
Also, fun fact, she has a mansion for her dogs.
What?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's probably, it's bigger than my apartment in Brockport.
I'm very disturbed. I'm very disturbed by that. Who's going second? Carter?
Our female correspondent, I think.
Our female correspondent has the second pick.
Okay. All right, so first round, I'm coming in strong. I'm going Dane Cook.
Yes!
Yeah.
Good pick.
Yes, super finger. Oh my god.
Harmful if swallowed.
Yeah. So every millennial ever was obsessed with Dane Cook, I'm pretty sure. He was easily one of the biggest names in the early 2000s.
Yep.
He, like, a monstrous growth in fame, like his comedy. I was obsessed with it when I was in high school. I thought he was so funny. But then he kind of just fell off. And, like, even I was like, what the hell happened to him? But so I looked it up, and a lot of his problem, he had a lot of controversy with, like, being accused of, like, plagiarism or copying people's jokes. But, like, I think a lot of comedians get hit with that.
Yeah.
And just people just starting to realize, like, that he wasn't really a quality comedian and stuff. And then on top of that, both his parents died within the same year.
Yeah, I remember reading that story.
I don't remember
Yeah. And around the same time, he found out his brother/manager had stolen $11 million from him.
That's crazy.
What?
So, like, he just was not, like, personally, his tragedy just was all over. But, so yeah, the last thing he did was a movie in 2015 called 400 Days. And he
Never
does
heard
some
of it.
stand-up. Yeah, no, me either. I don't think anyone has. But from his social media, it seems like he's done some stand-up here and there at, like, small comedy clubs. But yeah, you know.
Wow.
R.I.P. Dane Cook.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Huge rise and even bigger fall.
I know.
Craziness.
He climbed so fast, though.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he was on, it was like gold.
Yeah.
It really was. So.
I know.
All right, Traps, Matt. Go with the first round and get us into the second.
All right. Recording artist, Vitamin C. What's the
Nice.
graduation song? So it's, and we go on.
Everyone
and
cried to that.
remember And you melt. And you melt.
You do.
All right. So now she's going up in the world a little bit. She's a VP at Nickelodeon. She
What?
No,
figures
that's
out.
not her. That's you get the wrong person.
No. You wrote it down wrong here.
No, you told me Christina Milian.
No.
Okay.
Nope. You were wrong here.
I was told the opposite. I was told the opposite.
You'll be fine for it. So
The
vitamin
research
C
department needs a boost over here.
right here.
We need an intern.
So vitamin C, as a VP at Nickelodeon, she runs all music at Nickelodeon, all the sister stations.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
She's got to be making a lot of coin.
She's got to be.
A lot of coin.
Good
One hit
Good
wonder
rebound.
too.
Good rebound. So, all right,
Minutes.
lead us into the second then, sir. My apologies. I thought that was for a different pick, which I subsequently spoiled.
Yes. Well, it's going to be
Spoiler
Christina Milian.
Yeah, sorry.
So another recording artist, R&B flavor there. I think Nick
And
Cannon.
Cutie, very.
Oh my gosh. So if you want to really see her in a prime, Man of the House with Tommy Lee Jones.
Okay.
You too. It sounds like you would very much like
Oh
this
yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Man of the House. So she was in a little bit of movie action. Everyone in Wild and Out talks about her and Nick Cannon dating for a little bit. But now, gosh. So after one of our newscasts recently at WHAM, this Fox show came on called Superhuman. She's a judge on it.
Oh.
It's like people with superhuman minds.
No kidding.
And not applicable skills at all. It's like people that can look at two paintings and realize which one is the forgery. The judges are
What?
some neurosurgeon or neuroscientist, Mike Tyson and Christina Milian.
Wow.
And the host is Kal Penn, Kumar from Harold and Kumar. The show is ridiculous. I don't know how many episodes it got bought for, but
I'm
it is
so confused.
it's a
right
bad it's a
now.
bad show.
I'm so confused by
The
that.
judges make no
That's-
sense. That's what she's doing right
Insane.
now.
Wow. All right. Hey.
I don't understand any of their qualifications.
No. Or how they mesh together whatsoever.
I am very
You couldn't have
confused.
4 more opposite backgrounds if
Random.
you tried. So.
Yeah.
All right, Carter. Second round, second pick.
Okay, I'm going female. I got Hillary Duff.
Oh, nice. Oh, I've got a
I
huge crush on her.
Yes.
Everyone does. So obviously she, everyone first saw her, Lizzie McGuire. Then she was in a
Yep.
slew of early 2000s movies. She had an album that was really popular. And then in 2010 she got married to
Boo.
hockey player Mike
thought it was-
Comrie.
Oh, was it a hockey player? I thought she got married to an artist.
No.
No,
It's an
he's a
NHL
hockey player.
Ah,
He,
boo.
he after they were separated got accused of rape. So
Oh,
he's,
okay. Wow.
and he cheated on her. So he's trash.
Okay, yeah. How do
Because
you,
who cheats on Hillary?
I was gonna say, how do you do that? That's awful.
I don't know.
That's
She's so
awful.
pure, and she didn't
Yes.
fall off like every other. She stayed successful. And then when I was looking at her up, she has literally guest starred on every popular sitcom and show that has been on TV. It's insane. She's been busy. But yeah, right now I think she does a show on ABC Family or Freeform or something. But she stayed busy.
Good
and
for
also
her.
she has a hot bod now.
Yeah,
that
I was about to
she's
say.
been showcasing.
Yes. Very good, very good.
Went very viral recently. A very low key
Yes.
viral
I
picture.
mean, she did get divorced in 2016 to a guy that cheated on her. That's the result right there.
There you go. That's what happens.
Hot body.
Revenge bod? Is that what they call it? Revenge bod?
Yes,
I think
the
so.
revenge
There you
bod.
go.
Big fan
There
of
you
Hillary
go.
Duff.
All right,
Big fan.
I'll end the second round and begin the third. Second round, last pick, Sean William Scott, the American Pie series.
Nice.
Yes.
Still acting. And, as Trabs and I figured out, in 2 fabulous hockey movies. Not all times, but up there.
I don't know.
Up there.
That might be
Goon. The Goon series now. We can call it a series. Goon 2 is coming out this Friday.
yes.
So,
Goon. The first Goon might be my favorite sports movie of all time. And that is saying something.
it's not even my favorite.
I've
It's,
seen it.
it's probably my third. It's probably actually my
Sorry.
4th favorite hockey
Oh
movie.
my gosh.
Yeah.
He plays a hockey team enforcer. So like a fighter. He's really only out there to fight.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love it.
He can't really
so
skate
good.
or play hockey, but he can punch, so that's why he's on the team.
I love it
okay.
so much.
All right, third round, first pick, Britney Spears. Famous for teen heartthrob. Oops, I Did It Again is the song that I put down there, but there were a ton of them.
Many.
Still a recording
Queen.
artist, actually. Queen. Okay, all right. Well, I didn't really go that strong.
She's my queen.
Performing in Vegas still. Her last show
Mm-hmm.
in Vegas set for New Year's Eve 2017. So it's coming to a close here.
Yeah.
You haven't had a chance. Get out there now.
Jeez, that's where the money is.
So,
If you have
I
a,
guess so.
Also,
a strip show? Wait.
if you're a man who likes beautiful women, follow her on Instagram because she posts some workout videos.
She does. She does.
In very skimpy clothing, and Brittany is very flexible.
Quite
so,
the
just
bod.
saying.
Quite the
I'm just
bod.
giving a suggestion. Yeah. And can we just give a shout out to her breakdown in 2007? And she has jumped back.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Good call
She
there.
has.
Good call.
Federline.
Good for her.
Yeah.
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 She back. And
Shaved
she
her
back,
head.
And she back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
true.
my gosh,
That's
yeah.
true. Oh, yeah. All right, Carter, third round pick.
Okay. Well, this is a great follow-up because I have another train wreck as well. I have Amanda Bynes.
Yes.
Oh,
that's a
I
good
loved
one.
Amanda Bynes.
I know. Okay, she was just like the girl next door, so adorable, so funny. I think everyone loved her. Everyone wanted to be her. She was my favorite. The Amanda Show and all that. She was hysterical.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
you're like a 13-year-old, you're like, this
all
show
that
is
was
so
great.
funny. It was. She was incredible, and then she was also in a lot of, girl movies, What a Girl Wants, everything like that. I loved her. And then she went off the rocker a few years back.
Was it a mental breakdown? What was it with her? I don't remember.
She recently did an interview like a few months ago. It was her first in like a while, and they were asking her about a slew of tweets she had sent out. One most notable about Drake. It's a very inappropriate one that I can't say,
okay.
but
Oh, jeez.
yeah, she said she wanted him to murder a body part of hers.
Oh, okay then.
Ah.
All right.
Yeah. So she was crazy. She said all this crazy stuff on her Twitter, but she said in her interview that she was on drugs when she said all that.
Of
And
course.
she went to rehab and she ended up, getting clean. And now apparently she's in school at the Fashion Institute in New York City. So
There we go.
Oh, nice.
she's doing something. She's getting
Yeah.
her life together.
Good
but
for her then.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hopefully. We'll see.
All right,
Yeah.
Trebs. And the third, bring us into the fourth and final round.
All right. First of my final two, Ben McKenzie.
Okay.
So start off known for the OC. Oh no, the OC. I didn't watch it.
The Ock.
So I know he was like a thing early on. Now he is the protagonist on Gotham. He is young
Ooh.
Commissioner Gordon.
Okay.
And
Oh,
the award
nice.
for most ass kicked with the fanciest hair. Great head of hair.
Okay. All right.
But
Great head of hair.
it stays up when he's fighting baddies. Look at this. All right. So
All
Ben
right.
McKenzie, and in the third,
Fourth round.
all right, staying with upstate New York, Teddy Geiger.
Oh.
Oh my
yes.
gosh. Teddy Geiger.
Good pick. Carter approves, I guess.
Yeah.
I loved him.
That was like the softest, like,
Oh my god.
gush
he was
voice.
he was so sensitive and great. I loved it.
So I don't remember any of his songs, but yeah, it was like maybe not a one-hit
I'm
wonder.
gonna muster every ounce of confidence that I
That's
have.
teamwork right there.
wow.
That is teamwork. I like it.
Wow.
So, and he acted in that Rainn Wilson, Josh Gad, Emma Stone movie, The Rocker. Very
Okay.
underrated. And I
Really?
think through that, because they were co-stars, he dated Emma Stone for like 3 years.
Oh, good for him.
And now
wow.
he's moving to another side of the industry. He's a songwriter, mostly for Shawn
Nice.
Mendes, and he has an upcoming project for another 90s star, James Blunt.
Okay.
You're
Wow.
beautiful. It's true.
Very good.
Is that his
Shawn
song?
Mendes is like very successful,
Huge.
so he's doing
Good
good
pick.
things for him.
And now we
Good
know
pick.
Shawn
Also-
Mendes doesn't write his own songs.
Also,
So-
respect. He dated a power redhead. So.
Yeah. Yes. A power red.
We should all be so
Yeah.
lucky. We should
Yeah.
all be so lucky. All right, Power Redhead. Give us
Our
your
resident
fourth
Power
and final
Redhead.
pick. Yes, our resident Power.
All right. As my fourth pick, I'm going a little wild here. I'm going Sum 41.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Band in it.
Yeah. So they
Yes.
had their hit Fat Lip and In Too Deep,
Oh yeah.
which I loved. I love their songs, yeah. They were like trying to be like Blink 182 kind of.
Yeah.
They were definitely kind of a copycat of Blink 182, but they had some great hits. They kind of took a hiatus for a while, kind of just disappeared, and then they recently released another album in 2016, which was big in Canada apparently. But they also were in 2016's Warped Tour, so
Oh.
they're still doing things. They're still there.
Nice.
They don't want you to forget that they were in every single teen movie in the early 2000s.
Right, right.
Even the band name is like totally Blink 182.
Yes.
It's
yeah.
It is.
Yes.
it's like onomatopoeia number. So,
Yes. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. Fourth and final pick to end the 2000s. This is a pick that I think epitomizes this entire experiment because this is a guy that was popular in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and even today.
This day.
This day.
This
day. A Syracuse-born
What?
actor,
What?
Tom Cruise.
What?
According to his
He was
Wikipedia,
born in Syracuse?
according to his Wikipedia page, he was born in Syracuse. I think it was Casanova. He lived for a little while.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken.
I have to believe you. You had like a follow-up, like a town. You had a town along with Syracuse.
I'm pretty sure it was Casanova. It was a short while. It was like maybe a year, not even. And he was gone.
Still the birthplace.
But yeah,
I mean,
Tom
that was
Cruise.
me. We have similar upbringing.
There we go. Look at you and Tom Cruise.
I am Tom Cruise.
You are, exactly. But he had box office hits in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and even today. Yeah. So to me, that like epitomizes like this entire experiment that we've just done.
So many different decades. He had the movie. That's not the title though.
I don't think that's it.
But it's something
notable.
He was in Top Gun.
Yes. Yeah. Notable.
Risky Business.
Risky Business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sucks movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
I was thrown into puberty a little bit from Risky Business.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's.
I do recall.
The title of the episode.
We have to throw the explicit sign on this one now. Some notable unmentions. I had Tom Hanks.
Oh,
2000s
you can't
guy.
say Tom Hanks. Come on.
Well, I don't know. He had a couple things.
He's multiple.
Dave Chappelle, I think, was the big one.
Oh, see,
but he did have part of his hiatus.
6 months ago, that would have been like perfect.
Yes.
Now he's back on his.
Although I think it kind of is perfect though, because now he's coming back with some stand-up stuff. So
right.
Anything else you guys can think of?
Dave Chappelle's a good one.
I couldn't.
There was I feel like it's crazy because a lot of them were '90s stars. They spilled into the 2000s, and they kind of died off and they trickled off. Yeah. But a lot of them have come back. Like they've made their rounds back. Like Dave Chappelle's an excellent example of that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Ashleigh Carter, this was fun. Where can we find you on the internet?
At Ashleigh Carter on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me for some awesome Game of Thrones updates and disappointments.
Oh, always.
And the Bills too.
And
since
the Bills.
Preseason is coming to an end.
Oy.
I can't stand it. But
Thank God.
it's awful. It's hard to watch.
That's one way to put it. That is what it's not
That's
wrong.
all the ways.
It's
to
not
put
wrong.
It's all the ways.
All right, Ashleigh Carter, we appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, time for It's Got Legs, a story that we think will continue to make headlines throughout the days, weeks, and months leading up from whenever you listen to this podcast. It's a shame that we had to bury it this deep in the show, but this Cavaliers Celtics trade, too hot there on my part.
I liked it.
It's going to continue to make headlines because Isaiah Thomas didn't pass the physical, according to some reports. They're kind of in a holding pattern right now. Now the Cavs reportedly trying to pry more than one young player away from the C's. Sounds like they want Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The C's do have a bunch of first-round draft picks still. They could send them that way as compensation, put together a package maybe of Brown and a first-round pick, whatever it might be. The C's can do it without getting rid of Tatum, you would think, but the Cavs apparently are very high on Tatum, and who wouldn't be? He looks like a pretty good prospect by all accounts. What should the Cavs be asking for? And I know you're a Celtics fan, so you're saying nothing at this point, but realistically, what should they ask for?
Hey, sometimes hips lie. And that's what we're seeing in that allegedly failed physical. If I'm the Celtics, I mean, it's obviously Jason Tatum. It's probably a Jason Tatum if I take out the fact that I grew up and was raised a Celtics fan. You take out Jaylen Brown because
that's big of you.
He's always going to bring you effort. He's always going to bring you vertical athleticism. But I don't know how much substance he has past that. He's still just learning the game of basketball. But Jason Tatum and another one of those many Danny Ainge first-round picks. That's those two pieces of the three thrown up by Adrian Wojnarowski here in the last 10 hours.
Yeah.
That's what you are probably looking at.
On Sunday. Sunday when we record.
Yeah, it's going to be more than that by the time you listen.
I'm perplexed at this. I don't know where they should go. Tatum is the obvious, but if you're the C's, you don't want to get rid of him because you think he's a crucial part of the future.
It's not 100% unforeseen territory or unwalked upon territory because this happens every once in a blue moon. But the fact that a trade might get reneged upon because of a failed physical, usually that's an afterthought.
Yes.
So we don't know what to do.
Good point. All right, let's go to thank yous. Our thanks to the scouting coordinator of the Reese Super Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, Patrick Wu. Our thanks to the female correspondent of To Be Determined, Ashleigh Carter, at Ashleigh Carter. Our thanks to the senior producer, Mitch Beluco. Our thanks to the executive producer at Sports by Mom. Check out the show, tobedeterminedshow.com. Download, subscribe to archived episodes of To Be Determined on iTunes and Google Play. Check out all the social media links on the website as well. Whew. A lengthy show in the books.
Matey show.
Later, boys.
But no wobbly.
Later, boys.